Hey gang, it is 7 o'clock on the West Coast, and it is Dave's Paranormal Hour. Pardon me while I invite a bunch of people in. I have a couple of questions I want to go over, and we're going to talk about what it's like to be a psychic, a professional psychic. You know, all those ads in the 90s about Miss Cleo 1-900, blah, 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 blah. Well, I was a 1-900 psychic for a brief time. What was that like? So, let me get a bunch of people invited over. Let me see if I can't see if there's anybody here yet. And then I'll start the show. Of course, this bit's probably going to get edited out for for my YouTube channel, because that'll be uploaded later. And it's a hell of a day today. It was in the 80s. Los Angeles gets this thing called called Santa Ana winds. Hey, Julie is here, Lisa's here, Lamara Smith is here. All right. Well, I'm going to have to use this to see all your messages. And I'm going to start by a brief thing about, well, my first psychic experience. I was about 4. I was sick, and I'm eating soup at the kitchen table. And I lay my head down. Next thing I know, I'm at the ceiling looking down at myself as I am with my head down. I had no idea that didn't happen to other people. So, and a lot of what I'm going to say is actually scripted, if I stick to the script. I'm one of the worst actors in the world. I'm always going off script. And let's see, how is it looking? Boy, it is looking good. This is a new way of streaming. So anyway, unlike a lot of people, my abilities were never suppressed as a child, and that is because my mom was always open to it. My dad was sort of always open to it. When I was a little kid, there was some books around, ESP. We called it ESP. We didn't call it being a psychic, because basically being a psychic was that lady, that was Miss Cleo. It was mostly a scam. And but I was having dreams. I would see things, and I didn't think a lot about it. I would see neighbors who had passed away. I didn't think a lot about it. It wasn't something that was spooky or dangerous or anything to me. But the thing is when I was young, the experiences, the ability to control it was all very inconsistent. And in, I think it was 1980. No, it was 1981. There was an interview with Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She is the lady who came up with the psychological aspects of dying, the 5 stages. Denial, bargaining, depression, acceptance, like that. And she talked about meditation. And she talked about when she was meditating, how much calm she was. And after a while, she actually met a guide. A guide would appear to her. And that got me interested in meditation. And it was through meditation that I was able to develop most of my gifts. These gifts, let's see, I can medium, I can channel, I can I can grab an object, like this, and I can begin to feel the vibrations. I can, maybe guess who the owners were. I can take a photograph, I can read the photograph. But a lot of that came about through the use of meditation and altered states. So in this thing that I'm doing, which is the Psychic which is the Psychic Academy. And in the Psychic Academy, my method of teaching is going to be teaching you, how to go into an altered state, what the altered state feels like, which altered states are best for what type of psychic ability you have. And the only way to do that is through, meditation. So if you want to be a psychic but you can't meditate, then, well, you're going to have to learn to meditate. All right, let's see what else happened. Yeah, I started noticing that most of the things that would happen to me was happening via dreams. Now, dreams occur in the theta, not in theta, but they occur in delta state, and that's an altered state called sleep. And in the 80s, I was playing around with hypnosis. I really wasn't very good with it, but I found out, I read some books, that you could do past life regressions with it. So I played around with some girlfriends. Where were we going so fast I lost track. We did past life regressions, and then there was some other things where I would, have them pretend they're being licked in the face by a puppy, or that they're being tickled by, feathers. And but I didn't really do a whole lot with that until the mid-90s, and when I discovered a series of basically training tapes. Now, Julie asks that I take any courses to enhance the psychic abilities, and that's what I did. I did it through initially through some audio tapes that taught me how to go into an altered state, how to hold the altered state, and what I could do in each altered state. The initial altered state was the alpha state, and in the 90s I was taught a little trick. Whenever I did this, thumb between my fingers and just kind of squeeze a little bit, and I was ready to do it. I could go into a light alpha state, and that would allow me to make contact. One of the first things I learned to do with this was, as I was driving, to project myself ahead of where I was driving to see if there was any cops running radar. And I was pretty accurate with that. I'd be blasting down the highway. The speed limits in Austin at that time were 55. I'd be blasting about 65, 70. I'd be doing this while driving, and I go, oh, there's a cop about a half a mile ahead. I'd dial it back. Dial it back to about 60, a little below that, and be in the middle lane, people passing me right and left, and sure enough, there was a couple of cops ahead. That was taught to me by a young lady who was into Wicca, and that's the one thing I wanted to point out. Most people, when they do a ritual, there's drumming involved, or there's chanting involved. You're going into an altered state. That's why their magic works. That's why I've been rather successful with my magic, because I use altered states. When you get into the theta state, and you're deep, everything you do goes straight into the subconscious, and that's what takes care of everything. So I use these series of audio tapes, and they were quite effective. Then I took a course from this guy. Guy's name's Dick Sutphin. I went up to Sedona twice. Once in 2000, briefly, where I initially made contact with him. But in 2001, I went up there express purpose to, I took pictures at the Grand Canyon. But I went to Sedona, went to his teaching academy, where he taught me how to put people into an altered state, and then how to expand psychic abilities. My whole idea at that time is I wanted control of my psychic abilities. I didn't want them just showing up whenever the hell they want to. That's similar to somebody who, has a friend that just drops by whenever the hell they want to. Hey Dave, how's it going? They slam the door, they grab a beer, they sit back, and I was wanting to do something else. But nope, there's my psychic ability, so I had to get control of it. And let's see. So here we are, mid-90s. That's when well, actually it was in 2000. And I did some past life regression stuff at that same time. I wanted to go from being a photographer back into filmmaking. And I felt, okay, well, I had to completely stop photography. But what was I going to do to occupy my time? And I realized, well, in the late 90s, I was getting a lot of readings online from a couple of companies. And so I just reached out to some of these people. I said, hey, I'd like to do this. You guys are telling me I'm really good at this. So why don't you tell me how I can make some money doing this? So the first thing happened was for a brief period, I was a 1-900 psychic. I would sit by the phone. I had to have and it wasn't a call center. I think Michelle asked me about call centers, and it wasn't that. It was a thing where I would call in with my telephone. Had to be a landline. I'd punch in my code, and then I'd just sit there and wait. And I would wait. And I would wait. And it was a random selection. If people call the 1-900 line, they'd want various types of readings, and then they connected to me. Now, I had a script I had to follow. And sometimes I could have my computer there, but they wanted me to do tarot, they wanted me to do numerology, and I just used that just to get started. I look at psychic ability, and that is basically the tarot deck is an antenna. I'm still the receiver of the information, and half the time I don't need the antenna. Okay, what happened here? I suddenly lost my spot here. Okay. I'll bring this back up. Somehow my tablet decided to reboot itself. Okay. Where was I? Yeah. I was working at this 900 line, and I think they were charging something like $4.99 a minute. The first 5 minutes were free. So most of the calls I would get, these people want to wrap up within that 5 minutes. And the bosses all said the same thing, keep them on the phone as long as possible. So there I was trying to be a psychic to these people. At the same time, I had people monitoring me. And you just could not be a good psychic like this. It takes me a little while to build up a rapport, build up a connection with the people. And so I didn't do that for much longer. I went in and got in with one of the online companies. And that was one of the big ones. If you ever Google online psychic readings, chances are this company would still be, 16 years later, they would still be one of the companies that would come up. Now the problem with this one is I would go in and I would log in online. I would still have to keep a schedule, and I couldn't do anything except sit there and wait. I would set a rate, but then they would amend their rate, and then they would take up to 70% of that rate. And so, when the time sitting the idle waiting for a call or waiting for a connection, I found I was making about half of minimum wage. So to answer the question about it, was I able to make a business out of it? Not really, because it is packed with people. There's a lot of people who are claiming to be psychic, who can pass these tests, who are not really psychic. Most of the ones when you call in or go to these chat rooms, these people are reading from scripts. These people are doing cold readings. And that's a technique that we see all the time. And that's why we're so susceptible to skeptics. Then you get the ones who do have some ability, but they like to elaborate. And that is when you get a phrase or you get a message, You pass along the message, but you don't elaborate. Okay? You know, if I'm doing a reading for somebody and I see them moving, I'll go, guys, you're going to move. That's all I'm hurt. That's all I'm being told. You're going to move. Other psychics will go into trying to describe the house or the apartment, how much you're going to be paying. That doesn't work, because when you get into those kind of details, you're imposing your own ego filter on what you're doing. And when you impose your own ego filter, your accuracy rate just plummets. I'm not saying I'm not accurate. I will get details. I will pass those details along, but you don't make up details. You have to say, well, is this something that I'm actually hearing? Is this something that's actually being passed along to me? Or is this something I'm trying to add to it to make it a better story for the person listening? Let's see if there's any other messages coming in. All right. Well, Stacy Jackson is asking me, how do you turn this ability on and off when you want to? Well, that was a hard thing to learn. Basically, I began to pretend my abilities was like a radio, and then I would hit an on or off switch. I could turn it off. And it would turn off. I would not receive messages. I would not receive precognition unless it was really important. Even now, my daughter will sometimes call me up and go, Dad, are your ears on? I go, no, they're not. Give me a moment, and then I'll set myself up and see what her question is. So that's the term she and I use, is, you know, are your ears on? That's a really good description of what it is, you know. It's an old CB term from back in the 70s when, you know, you'd be calling somebody on the CB and they go, you know, hey, Ralph, are your ears on? That works. Let's see. Did I do any courses? Well, Julie is asking this question. I don't know if Julie is still with us or not. Only 4 people right now. If you're still with me, well, yes, I did some courses. These were, you know, the hypnotic course I took from Dick Suffin and his series of audio systems. Now, the thing is most of his training was on actually audio cassettes. I believe there was 8 of them total that I went through. They all start with with an altered state. They're little games to play. For free, because I am doing the Psychic Academy, and if you're tuning into this program and you're listening right now, just go to the search bar in Facebook and type in Mediumship and Psychic Academy. You will see it. I currently have a picture up of a pretty house next to the ocean. And go ahead and ask to join. Right now, I think I'll open up the membership to anybody who wants to join. And I'm going to put a couple of free lessons there, and then I'm going to have a more structured class available. I'm working on it right now. Now, when my daughter was little, one of the things as a learning psychic, I would go get readings with other psychics. Good half of them were bullshit. All right, these people, a stalk of broccoli could make better predictions about what was getting ready to happen to me than most of these people. 2 of them in particular, I mean, my God, these people were reading off of a script on a computer monitor. They would ask me, you know, my full name, and then it's like before I could ask a question, they're giving me a numerology reading. Well, dude, that's not being a psychic, okay? Being a psychic is you know, if I'm giving a reading to you, you'll tell me your name. You'll talk a little bit. At that point, my radio's on. I am dialing in to your particular vibrations. My brain waves will actually synchronize with your heart rate and your heart waves. At that point, we're in connection, and I don't know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get really weird stuff that may not make any sense to anybody. Go ahead and take notes, because you never know. And that's one of the best psychics I ever worked with, this guy named Ron. and this was in about 1994. He was on the radio there in Austin, talk radio, before it became bullshit. And he was doing readings. So, I called in. And he did a quick reading on me over the air. And he didn't do these cold readings. For example, let's say somebody I don't know, on there, it's like, well, you got some business you're trying to create and this, and you keep asking questions, and based upon their answers, you keep, changing. You change it's called a cold reading technique. Google that if you want to learn more about it, but that's a way a lot of fake psychics do it. But with this guy, he nailed in some things, and I said, okay, great, give me your phone number. I want to set up another reading, which I did about 3 weeks later. Met with this guy. He taped it. It was about 30 minutes long. And during it, and I think it was Greg who said that, he said he's been told psychic powers. And Ron told me, I have a lot of psychic ability. And I say, well, what do I do? And he suggested I play a game. When I'm driving or when I'm walking around, I try to guess the color of the next car. That's one way to do it. And that works. The other one is you see somebody in the car next to you, or you're walking, you're sitting on a park bench, you see some people. Try to make up a story about them. Because it's one thing I have learned, that when you're truly psychic and you're connecting to people, you think you're making it up, but what's happening is you're making up real stuff. Okay? So I was doing that, and that's when I got into the altered state audios. I found it at a bookshop in South Austin, and I played the tape, and I'm like, wow. And the thing is, this was a tape on how to become a millionaire. This was in 97. By 98, after using this guy's programming, and as Lisa will tell you, as a photographer, I was bringing in a hell of a lot of money. It was just happening. And so I wanted to find out more about this guy, so I ordered some more stuff from him. Found out he was in Sedona, and I'd always wanted to travel that way, so I arranged for a trip in 2000. I drove from Austin to Phoenix, up the back roads of Arizona into Sedona. Met with him. Found out he does these hypnosis clinics. And so I was on his mailing list, and then a year later I was planning another trip to the desert to do some photography. So I took his class. Let's see. So yes, Julie, I kind of both took structured classes, but then I also just kept learning. I kept learning. Let's see. Did I build my own clientele? Not really. It was very difficult with these online systems to build clientele because they insisted you use a fake name, a fake photograph. And if there was any indication, any hint of this the person you're reading trying to go around the company to talk to you, through a different system, they just flip shit. Let's get back to that. So this was 2002, 2003 that I was doing this. And I did it. It was just, again, I wasn't really actually seeing that much money coming into me because they would take a big split and they really restricted. I could not advertise. I could not say, hey, I'm at this site, and back then we really didn't have social media back then. We had the internet, but the only way to get anything was to spam people. Okay, now let's talk about one of this other one here. Let's see. Turn it off and on when you want to. And Wendy is also says the same thing. How did you turn it back on? Develop it after. Well, first off, I never put a tight lid on it as a kid. And it never really, what scared me was ghosts. So that part of it would always, not work. But the ability to see a little bit into the future was always there. So it was just, I just suppress it. I'd be disinterested for a while. Let's see. Okay. Now, difference between, well, first off, I don't call it psychic power. A lot of people do. I call it abilities. And I think everybody has the ability to do this. You just need training. Then in this afternoon, I was thinking about this, and I'm thinking, it's a lot like athletic ability. You have guys and girls who are really good at certain athletic things. Natural tennis players, natural baseball players, natural football players, swimming, track, and all that. But even though they were naturally good at it, they still had to have some training. They had some coaches so they could be at the top of their game. And that's what I feel with psychic abilities are. Everybody has that ability. Those who get a lot of training and use it and know how to use it, they're the ones that really get good at it. And I think it's the same thing with athleticism. There are certain areas that you're better at than other people. Not everybody, I've always wanted to be able to do telekinesis. I have tried and tried and tried. It just doesn't seem to want to happen. Now, it could be because I'm trying too hard. But I'm really good at making spirit contact. I'm really good at pulling shadows and threads from the future and figuring out what could be happening to somebody. So, there's a trade-off. There's other people who are really good at telekinesis. There's other people who are really good, even better than me, at being a medium or a channel. My daughter is really good at spirit contact. And I never suppressed her abilities when she was little. I told her it was natural. Let's see, last time I heard, they're really easy to see people's auras. I can't see shit. And she can sometimes tell when somebody's going to die. She'll see a number around them, but fortunately, she's been a little, she's been a little off on that. Let's see. If anybody is listening and has any other questions. Okay, powers versus intuition. Well, intuition can lead to psychic ability. Intuition is the glimpse and the hint of your psychic ability. If you have an intuitive hunch that you should turn left at the next light instead of right because there's something happening, that's intuition. Psychic ability is being able to, while sitting in traffic, and actually see the accident. That's in the direction you want to go, and that's why you have to turn. And seeing the accident versus just thinking there might be something there. I'm pretty good at that. I can also utilize that with manifestation, with what Lisa teaches, because if you are good at going into an altered state, and most people who practice magic go into an altered state, you are good at doing magic. That's on top of all the other stuff you've got to get ready for that, which is getting clear on what you wish to have happen. One of the tricks and techniques that I was taught early on is to do a little mental movie. Now, you have to be in a theta or delta state of mind when you do these little mental movies. But one of the things I'm going to be teaching, and I've been working on the course, I've only done the experience the alpha state. But one of the things that you have to learn while you're in these states is it's not you have to do the full sense things. You have to be able to see, you have to be able to feel, you have to be able to taste and smell and hear. All of those senses have to be into play. And so I use a trick. Okay, Julie. I use a trick when I direct actors. Sometimes if we have the time I'll sit actors down and ask them if they've ever done any sense memory. And chances are they have. And what is sense memory in acting? All right, in acting, here's a napkin. If you see there, yeah, there's some texture to it. All right, so what I tell actors do is to close their eyes and to feel the texture, feel the roughness. Feel the roughness of the paper, the lightness of the paper. Feel the squishiness, how it gives, how light it is or heavy. Then I have them close their eyes. I have them pretend. And then they have to pretend that they're rubbing that paper. They have to actually feel it, because the camera's going to be right there. All right? They're going to be in close-up like that. And if they're lying, if they're not really feeling that, if they're pretending to feel it, I will see it in their eyes. And that's one of the things that I'm working on to train people with developing psychic abilities, because when you can go into alpha using this method, you begin to project yourself across space-time. You suddenly realize you're no longer limited to this locality. You can transport yourself. Remote viewers do this. There's a cooling off period you do where you just close everything off and you just relax. Images, streams of consciousness starts coming to you. And then you can, with a remote viewer, you tune into your target and you pick up things, like visuals, tastes, smells, sounds. And no, this isn't specifically to be a remote viewer. It's an all-rounded psychic. It's just that, it's just like when I learned to play baseball. We learned to catch and to throw and to bat and to run and all that stuff. You can't be a baseball player if all you know how to do is throw the ball. You have to be able to catch it, have to be able to run, and you have to be able to bat. So, what my course is being designed to do, and it's taking a while, is to, first I teach you about alpha, I teach you about theta state, I put you into that state, I let you hold in that state for a little while, and then we come out of it. I want you to be able to go into that state without the use of audio. And let's see, trying to think of what else I can go on about. Now let's talk about Lex. Lex, I don't know if you're still with me or not, but Lex talks about, how do I deal with the skeptics who may have thought I was a fraud? Well, I tell them to go fuck off. All right? I only had a couple people test me. One person came in, and this was in a chat room, and they were testing everybody. There's 4 or 5 of us in this old style chat room, early 2000s, prior to Facebook, prior to MySpace. And I had this person come in, and I was getting a weird vibe out of them, and they kept saying how this was all bullshit. I can't prove anything. I said, wait a minute, your screen name says you're a guy, but I'm picking up that you're a woman. And you could, come to find out it's actually a man who was wanting to transition, wanted to become a transsexual. So yeah, it had a male name, but wanted to be a female. And I've never had any people try to test me other than, other psychics, and we're testing each other. But basically, if somebody tells me, I don't do anything that I would consider to be fraudulent, I could defend myself in a court of law. But there will be people that will, because of the fortune people. There's one around the corner. They get arrested all the time. They're usually, they're usually a minority of some type, and they'll say, oh, you've got a curse on you, and for $500 I'll remove the curse. All right, why is this thing saying it's high CPU usage? Jesus, it's only at 62%. What the fuck? Oh. Well, let's see. If there's anybody watching, why don't you start shooting me some questions? I'm thinking I'd like to be on the air another 20 minutes. Also, gang, what do you think about the new everything? I had like this little opening slideshow with some music. This was from some photography that I took here and around Hollywood. And then my usual bumper music is what we called it in radio, bumper music. Let's see. Hey, Eric! Holy cow, you're watching. Eric is an old friend of mine from Austin. He is a animator. And he has something to do with something, some kids show that's going to be on YouTube Red. So why don't you say something, Eric? He's also the guy that did all the effects in my short movie, The Furies, and he's really good at it. You know, I may put that link up there for people to watch. Without using green screen, this guy is able to make a hand pass through a glass, you know, and all sorts of good shit like that. Let's see. So let's see. Texas is viewing. Renee. Hello, Renee. Julie, I think you're still with us. What's my view on Oracle cards? Well, guess what? I don't have a view on Oracle cards. Oops, sorry. I've done readings with regular tarot cards, but you know, pick one that you're comfortable with and learn to use it. It is a tool. So I said on my you know, people who are psychic and everything, you know, it is a tool. I mean, one can take and rip paper apart, but it's easier to use a tool. And that's all tarot, and that's all oracle cards are, really, is they're a tool. I've used a pendulum. I haven't done tea leaves. I know people can read tea leaves. I've tried to do looking into a crystal ball. I've tried that. I've tried the black mirror. Oh, that shit works for me. And at the same time, all that stuff usually works when you get into an alpha state. Hey, Lisa, what's new, girl? And you know, the stuff that Lisa teaches is so much more effective when you understand that really it helps to be in an alpha state or theta state when you do it. But let's see, 20 minutes till. Okay, gang, remember, if you want to, you know, check out this Mediumship and Psychic Academy, right now it's open enrollment. Just walk in. There's no classes yet. I'm going to be uploading something over the weekend. And this will be just a quick, hey, how to go into alpha video, and that'll be for free. Let's see. I'm looking at my tablet. Another thing which is interesting is these cards, the psychic cards. And they have the four. They have the star, the square, the circle, and the wavy lines. I think there's 5 of them, so there may be another one. I was never really any good at those cards either. Oh, I'm good at sending the image. I can look at the image, I see a wavy line, I get it in my head, and the person I'm working with will pick that up. But other than that, okay. I would hop on what, Lisa? Huh? Hop on what? All right. Yeah, I'm only going to be working this. I'm going to put this this course together, help you get started. But my intuition, my psychic abilities are saying that I'm going to be rather busy the rest of the summer doing something else. So, don't be the psychic that I can read bullshit. Yeah, that's it. Anybody can Google cold reading, and I don't do cold readings, and I don't put up with ego either. If you're the type of person who has to tell me everything, that you're seeing and you start elaborating, then I'm going to pull the rug out from under you. And I like things simple. And the simplest thing in the world is to learn to go into alpha. And but you're not going to, I'm going to put together this course. Now, one of the things, I have set a price on all my audio tapes, but I'm going to bundle the course together as it's being built. I'm going to bundle it together. And I'm trying to decide whether I should add a one-to-one Skype or Zoom. So people who take the class, they can do one-to-one with me and they can work out some issues. One of the things that I found when I'm working with other psychics is that we all seem to be a little bit more powerful when we're working together. And that's really cool. Any other, that's right, yes. I normally have another webcam operating, and this one is new, and this one came in today. It's from Logitech. It gives me full HD, so a lot of my videos I'll do which will be full HD. And this program I'm using is called Xstream, X-Stream, and it allows me to what's that word again? As Eric knows, it's not unusual for me to kind of blank out. Yeah, I will. It allows me to record this while I'm streaming it live, so I can put it up on YouTube. Dave's Paranormal Hour on YouTube. It's that time that I want. I like to do interviews with people. I'm pretty good at getting at least 30 minutes worth of entertainment out of somebody. So if there's anybody who is available between 7 and 8 o'clock on Friday evenings, and you have something to say or maybe something to sell, then send me a PM and I will we'll set something up. Okay, what's the other thing I think is really cool? And everybody's Androids, right? Ooh, that's my Android screen. And I found out today that there's another version of Facebook Messenger that you can put on an Android device. It's called Lite. That's it. It's all stripped down. There's no goofiness. It's really designed for other markets than the U.S. and it takes up so much less resources. So if you're running an Android, message me and I'll send you to the links about how you can get it put on your system. Google Play won't let you put it on there. Facebook will let you put it on there. But I sure as hell know how to get it on there. I've done everything except jailbreak this one. Now this is it's a Fire tablet, Amazon Fire, but I jailbroke it, put in a regular Android operating system. Okay, so let's recap real quick. Mediumship and Psychic Academy, right now open to anybody who wants to join. Go join. I will approve it. I or Michelle or Lisa and Michelle are admins in this. I'm going to be putting up a short free course later this over the weekend, and then that's it. Okay, we are at 7:45 Los Angeles time, 10:45 East Coast, makes it 9:45 Central. Let's see. Any other questions from the few people who are left talking? Again, with Lisa's classes, if you're not seeing any, if you're not seeing your goals being met or anything, get with me. We'll get you one of my courses on how to get into theta, because there's a method I use with the sigils, and that is it really works whenever I have the time, can get the bullshit out of my life to do it. But it's done in altered states. All magical things are done in altered states. You may not know it, but it is. Oh, what else? Okay. Not so much for being an hour. I did say an hour plus or minus 20 minutes. Okay, I'll just kind of hang for a second here. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Now next week, I have nothing planned for next week. If you have a really good story to tell, let's say maybe you've got a book coming out, or maybe you've got something really cool happening, get a hold of me. Right now there's no topic set for May 26th, and it's going to, I want to go on the air between 7 and 8 o'clock Pacific time. Eric, if you're still with me, why don't why don't we talk about maybe you coming on the air for this? I don't know. Lisa, well, you'd be a good one. I can interview the hell out of you, girl. That's it, unless there's any more questions. Okay, skeptics, how to turn it on and off. Like I said, turning it off is hard. Then I learned how, just kind of flip a switch. And there's about 4 questions that asked me about building this up, and it is through just working with other psychics, test readings with each other. My favorite way of testing is if the other person says they want to learn to be a medium, is I teach them how to make contact with spirit. I will send a specific person over. I have 3 or 4 friends, some family members who've passed away. And what I'll do is I'll send one of them over there with a message. And then they tell you the message, and then you tell me what it was they said. And we'll keep working until you get it right, until you know you're listening to them and not to your ego. That's the big thing, the ego. Let's see, what else? Oh, that's it. All right, coming up 10 minutes till. Not much else happening, guys. A real brief story. But my course, I'm going to start it. You guys, we're going to have these games you're going to go under. Now, what I do is from a scientific point of view, I take you under, I say, okay, you're going to alpha state. And there's going to be a binaural beat track in the background that is designed to put you in alpha state. Now, some people, there's a range of frequencies for the alpha state, same as for theta, same as for delta. And I'll pick a range right dead center. And to keep you from going too low, I'll raise it, then bring it back down. Raise it, and your brain will synchronize with all these clicks and beeps and the frequencies. Your brain neurons will synchronize with that, and you're going to be in it. But the goal, though, would be able to be, all right, 1, 2, 3, alpha state. You're in the alpha state. What's going on? I was meditating a few months ago, and that's when a relative, a friend of mine, came through suddenly, and they go, "Can you give, your friend a message?" Well, who are you? Worked on that. I was still groggy. I was still out of it when I made contact, and that works. So, anybody else? Bueller. Anybody remember that movie? Bueller. Okay. Well, we're coming up to 10 till. I always like my shows to be pretty much right on. So I'm going to give it a few more, give it about 30 seconds. If you have a question, I'm watching right now. If you have a question, go ahead and comment. If not, I'm just going to send this back over to my Waiting for Broadcast music, which has a bunch of my photography on it. I invite you to watch it. But that's it. That's it for tonight's broadcast. I think I covered the 7 questions. Oh, yeah. I'm just getting all sorts of notes here. Okay, guys, that's it. Thanks for tuning in, and have a good day, have a good evening, have a good weekend, and wait for my when my classes start. Remember, Mediumship and Psychic Academy. Go join now. Later.